Hello, my name is Zaire Payton, and today we'll be talking about the effects of cognitive behavioral therapy and how that will reduce recidivism within young males. So, this study specifically looks at how motivational interviewing, which is one of the cognitive behavioral therapies that we'll be focusing on, can reduce reincarceration rates of males ages 18 to 25 who have committed opioid-related crimes. And according to the substance use and recidivism outcomes for prison-based drug and alcohol interventions, by the epidemiologic reviews in the United States, 65% of prisoners are diagnosed as substance dependent in accordance with the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is DeAndre 2018. It's important to discuss this topic because drug users were 7 to 8 times more likely to offend than non-drug users, which is also DeAndre 2018. Learning about reincarceration rates in conjunction with opioid abuse in males can help to reduce recidivism by providing insights into alternative interventions that could support lasting behavioral change. My research topic is kind of like specific, so there are only two prior works that I saw that kind of related more to the topic. One being the effectiveness of an individual cognitive behavioral intervention for serious young male violent offenders, randomized control study with 24-month follow-ups, which was done in 2021. And then the next one was motivational interviewing for substance use reduction in 2011, and which was updated in 2023. One of the main social repercussion that could affect this is mostly community support or community tampering. Just with them doing the study within one of the criminal justice rehabilitation centers, which would be like halfway houses or other things like that, which we'll get into later in the sampling, that could possibly affect the study mostly socially. One of the main things that I want to achieve by doing this research is mostly just awareness and more education, specifically on this age group, because I feel like they're more so easier to relapse into like addiction or go into reincarceration at such a pivotal and important age, 18 to 25. And also just give a different option of cognitive behavioral therapy. I think there's been a little bit of research on motivational interviewing, but it's just the opportunity to show a way that we can reduce recidivism in our justice system. 18 to 25 males with the history of opioid usage from halfway houses and substance use treatment centers, and working together with the facilities to make sure that it is so that the participants are informed that it is voluntary, but also making sure that data and everything is done effectively. But we'll make sure that we get like a sample size of about 100 people. Reincarceration rates will be monitored over the course of 3 to 6 months following each participant's final release date. This study will use close monitor and control self-reports and criminal justice records in order to evaluate the effectiveness of motivational interviewing. Computer-based surveys, which will be executed and handled throughout the facilities, because we're going to make sure that we do have facilities that do have computers that are accessible computers within their facilities. But they will be used to gather additional information at the beginning of the study, the midway point, 3 months, and at the conclusion of the 6th month. This data will also include participant-reported changes in substance use, views on change, and participation with treatment services. Participants will be educated on the impact of studies and how this data will not only have a positive effect on their lives, but also the lives of others who may find themselves in a similar situation. Assistance with medical care could also be a possible incentive to garner support and cooperation in the target population for the study. Participants will be able to reply to these surveys in a private and efficient way, increasing the accessibility and accuracy of the data. In order to evaluate the consistency and quality of the intervention, receive information on the MI or motivational interviewing session attendance and participation levels will also be documented. So we want to make sure that this is as private and as confidential as possible, even though these sessions will be monitored heavily within the facilities. But we want to make sure that we are getting the most efficient and credible data possible. We're using a quasi-experimental design to conduct this research as well. Mostly using two participant groups, one being a control group and the other one will be the group that will be getting the motivational interviewing. The control group will just get all the regular post-release services, and then the other one will be getting the motivational interviewing. And then these two treatments, they'll just be studied. The effects of motivational interviewing on lowering recidivism will be evaluated just by comparing the reincarceration rates and also possible outcomes that could be like behavioral changes, engagement with post-release programs, and effects on their mental health or well-being. 3 data points will also be gathered just after release, 3 months later, and also at the end point, which will be the 6 month. And then to determine the success of motivational interviewing, we will just be taking a look at the relationship between motivational interviewing and reincarceration rates. So yeah. So talking about the pros and cons of the methods, starting off first with the pros, which would be having the two groups, the control group and the motivational interviewing, gives us that direct comparison of those regular post-release services, which is the control group, and then the motivational interviewing, which would be the motivational interviewing group, and seeing that direct comparison and difference. And then the second pro would be having the multiple data points, which would be the 3 intervals, just so that we were able to track the short term and the midterm, which is important for evaluating the intervention and effectiveness of it. So going to the cons, one con is the overlap of services. We might find out that some of the regular post services could interlap into the motivational interviewing. We might see comparisons in the way that we do our services with the regular postal services. And then another con is just like the 3 to 6 month increment, not knowing if that's enough or efficient time to make sure that the motivational interviewing is actually affecting the inmates after being released. Some potential ethical considerations, or number 1, potential for coercion, which basically, with it being done in the facilities, it's possible that some facilities could maybe there are definitely ethical issues that exist within the study with it being done in facilities. There's possible coercion that could go on within, like, participants feeling pressure to actually volunteer in the study. Like I said, it's voluntary. It's a volunteer study. I wouldn't want participants to feel like they have to do it, but with us working with facilities, we don't know exactly what type of pressure, or like if there's forcage on the participants to participate in it. But it's critical that we want it to remain voluntary. And then the next thing is emotional and psychological risk, which would just mean, so with the emotional and psychological risk, this is basically just talking about the triggers that could come up while these participants or expressing their stories or talking they could come up, triggers could come up and things like that. So we want to make sure that therapists are well equipped and are ready for, you know, whatever comes up. So the last thing is just confidentiality. And all in all, we want to make sure that all data is confidential, making sure that any identifiable information is protected, making sure those that are involved that their information is confidential. Any handling of the procedures or evaluations, just being confidential. And we want to make sure that participants and the facility and everybody knows that this is a confidential matter, and that is a crucial part of the experiment as well.